So in every college, there are seniors who are ready, willing to help you, look at your resume, give you some tips. But there was no such thing which made me stand out. But if you're applying off campus, I think it is one of the key features that your resume should look good. It should not have any mistakes. It should be good. It should be matching to your profile. Like if you are applying for a coding profile, it should have coding projects. If you are applying for a management or something else, it should have that kind of projects there.
Right.
But for on-campus, I don't think it's so important that your resume needs to stand out.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the interviewers. Like different interviewers have different expectations and they're looking for like different things. So it depends on the interviewer. Maybe like one interviewer does not pay that much attention to one thing, the other interviewer does. So, hello everyone, welcome back to Geeks for Geeks. My name is Muskan Agarwal and today we have Aman with us. So, we are here to listen about Aman's interview experience at Amazon and his coding journey overall. So, before I start with the questions and the interview experience, can you give a brief introduction about yourself?
Hello everyone, I'm Aman Singh. I recently graduated from NIT Surathkal. I majored in electrical and electronics engineering, and thankfully I got selected for Amazon.
Yeah, that's really great. Also, tell us a bit about your coding journey. Like, from where did you get introduced to coding? How did coding interest you, and everything about that?
Majority of the companies which offer high-paying jobs in my college come for software profiles, and there's an environment in college in which either student is if he or she is there in a CSIT background, or she's not he or she is not there in the CSIT background. They all prepare for coding jobs. So because of peer pressure and my friend circle, even my younger brother started coding, so I also started coding. I tried my hand at this, and I really enjoyed it, and here I am today.
Yeah, that is really great. Like what started as a peer pressure finally turned out to be something that interests you a lot. Correct. So, talking about the interview experience that we are here to listen about, can you tell like how many rounds were there and like a brief about each and every round that you went through?
It started with an online coding test in which we had two DSA questions, and we had a lot of behavioral questions followed after that DSA section, and there were mental ability questions. So behavioral questions were mostly about how they will give you a situation and they'll ask you how would you react. So you can't really prepare for that. It has to be on the spot. And for mental ability questions, they are basic find the next figure, find the next number, that kind of questions. So if you have a practice of solving these questions, you can easily clear that round. Then I had 3 rounds of interview, 1 hour each, where interviewer will take around 5 to 10 minutes of your time, making you feel comfortable, talk to you about your projects, internship. But then their main focus is to make you solve two questions within 50 to 55 minutes. So I
Yes.
had 3 rounds of interview, and after that, I was selected.
Yeah, I think this is like a common procedure, like for Amazon interview at least. Like even when I gave my interview, there were like two DSA questions, and I asked so many people, like so all of them gave me a similar response, like 50 to 55 minutes, and they want you to solve two questions. If you solve both of them, I think you are in, right? But yeah, the number of rounds might vary from profile to profile and person to person. I think, right? Correct. So the next thing is resume. I think resume selection is the first step before you get to the interview or you get the link to the online assessment. So can you tell us like what did you do differently in your resume that helped you stand out from the rest of the resumes that are already there?
Hmm. I don't think I've done anything different. My resume was mostly inspired from my seniors who already got in big MNCs. So in every college, there are seniors who are ready, willing to help you, look at your resume, give you some tips. But there was no such thing which made me stand out. I mean, there were not.
Yeah.
Everybody does projects. I did projects. Everybody has a better Cgpa than what I had. I mean, in my branch, I was not that good at studies, but I think few projects which I did that made me a little bit confident about myself, but I don't think there's anything which makes you stand out. It all depends in the interview, how you perform, how you solve your questions. I think it's
Right.
just basic formality of taking your resume. They know before you, but I don't think it plays that much in your performance in interview. It's mainly how you solve those two questions, how you tell your ideas, how you're approaching the question. I think that's what matters.
Right. So
It's my
okay.
personal opinion. It might vary for somebody else.
Yeah, so like I've seen some companies pay a lot of importance to the resumes, like they actually shortlist people on the basis of resume. But as far as I know, for Amazon, like I think everybody gets the assessment link at least, right,
Yeah,
after
so
the resume.
I think companies which focus which they want people to solve questions, they want to test out the people. I don't think they really care for resume. But if you're applying
Hmm.
off campus, I think, yeah, it is one of the key features that your resume should look good. It should not have any mistakes. It should be good. It should be
Right.
matching to your profile. Like if you are applying for a coding profile, it should have coding projects. If you are applying for a management or something else, it should have that kind of
Hmm.
projects there.
Right.
But for on
Correct.
campus, I don't think it's so important that your resume needs to stand out.
Yes, definitely. Also, then talking about the DSA questions, okay, so you said that there were two DSA questions asked. So I wanted to ask, like, from where did you prepare DSA from? Because I see there are a lot of resources available on internet, and sometimes it is very overwhelming for the students. Like, they're confused that from where should they do. So, what strategy did you own?
I started with HackerRank. I solved very basic questions from HackerRank. Then I used to give regular contests on Code Forces and Code Chef. But I would suggest that for theory subjects, if you want to learn something, learn graphs, learn about trees, learn about various algorithms in graphs, I referred only to GeeksforGeeks complete interview preparation package. That was like I paid for that course. I got that course. It had everything I know. I didn't study. I didn't need anything else. There are so many articles, so many other websites. I bought one course. It had everything. It perfectly explained well, so that helped me a lot. For practicing, there are many websites. You can practice from anywhere you want. But if you want to get your theories clear, I would recommend that complete interview preparation course. But for
Right.
people who are already in a CSIT background, and I mean they are majoring in that, they can actually go for the DSA one. But my major was electrical electronics, so I need to study all OS,
Yeah.
DBMS, everything. So that was my go-to preparation thing for my interview.
Yes, definitely. So like it is double work for people who are not from CSIT, because all these subjects like OS DPMS are in a curriculum. So in a way we are taught all this in college itself, but for you guys have to do it separately as well.
No, no, no.
So
I totally
yes,
ignored my college work because I was not interested in that. That is, you can see that in my Cgpa. I ignored
that
that.
is really, yeah. So like decide whatever you want to do. Like it's not like you are doing both. Like decide
Yeah,
whether
I
you want to
totally,
go in. Huh,
I totally agree with you. My college studies was not of my interest. Electrical interest because core companies tend to pay less than what software companies offer. So
right.
I focused my
Yes.
attention only on that.
Right. Also, talking about the CGPA, do you think CGPA really mattered? Like, if you leave Amazon, so in Amazon, I don't think CGPA really matters. But for other companies or in on campus placement, did you feel any sort of barrier when it came to your selection process or anything because of your CGPA?
I have faced a lot of rejections for off-campus internships because of my
Hmm.
CGP. I think that was the main reason. But on
Right.
campus, if the company mentions that CGPA cutoff is 0 or 6 or 5, I don't think they really care how much it is. It's above 5, it's
Right.
well and good. I mean, even
Right.
in my interview, my interviewers saw my resume before. They asked me if they could. Like one of my interview, I remember him asking me wait for 2 3 minutes, and he went through my resume in that interview. I didn't think he didn't make me feel uncomfortable about my CGP. He was chill with it.
Hmm. Right. Cool. Also, like you said that you used to code on code forces as well. So, are you a competitive programmer or were you into competitive programming at some point of time?
I was really interested in that. I tried my level best, but I'm not that good into competitive programming.
Yeah.
It interests me a lot. I have solved a lot of contests. I've participated in a lot of contests, solved a few problems. I think I reached up to pupil. I think I was just about to become. There's a level above dark green, right? I forgot the name.
Right.
It's been long since I. Uh, After getting the job, I really just left it for some time. So I
Hmm.
thought there's a rating after 1400. No, I was about to reach that, but then I gave up. I got selected in Amazon, so I didn't continue with that.
Yeah, so I see a lot of freshers. They are like, even if they're not interested into it, they're like competitive programming. They have to do like it's like they made something. They made it like a mandatory thing to do. So, do you think competitive programming is really necessary to get into any big company, or did it help you somehow in your entire selection process?
Mm, Competitive. No, I don't think competitive programming helps you a lot because in the interview questions, they mainly focus on DSA based questions, which you'll find similar questions of like on interviews in lead code rather than on code forces. Code forces are generally math type of questions. They don't use DSA that much. I mean, they do use, but then you have to think a lot beyond DSA.
Right,
In interview type of questions, you know that if you read the question, you know it's a tree question, it's a draft question, or it's a DFS, BFS question. But in Code Forces, Code Chef kind of platforms, I think they don't really care about you don't get that idea that you have to use this data set. You can use anything. But I
correct,
really prefer that if you really want to focus on your interviews, you have to focus on DSA type questions, like on lead code. They tell you, like specifically, they'll target all kinds of algorithms.
correct, correct. Also, the next very important thing is the projects, as like sometimes interviewers are really interested in the projects that you make. So, can you tell like what all projects did you work on in your like entire engineering curriculum?
I'll have listed three projects in my resume, and I think I have worked on one or two more than that. The first project I mentioned was random number generation using ambient sound.
Hmm.
Uh, it is a totally maths-based project as I'm not from a CSIT background, so I don't know that much basics. So I picked up a maths project for myself. It totally what it does is picks up sound from my environment, and it amplifies the randomness and generates random numbers. So that was my project number one. Second
Okay.
was a machine learning project. That I studied myself. It was about forecasting solar generation using previous data. So that was mainly LSTM model implementation. I don't think that they really care what project you worked on. I think they look for that you can write clean, readable code. You can see when you solve a DSA question, there are only two components, like two, three functions involved. But in a project, there are a lot of functions involved. So I think they really check that can you integrate,
Right,
can you apply what all have you learned in a project, or is there a practice, write clean, long codes, make it all run. I think they look for that. But in my Amazon
correct,
experience, I really don't think they cared about projects. They only want you to solve two questions. They'll talk 5-10 minutes about project, but then I don't think it's a major key factor influencing your decision of selection.
correct. Also, talking about clean code, as you mentioned, so like everyone I talk to, so I'm like, maybe you're not able to solve a question, but definitely write a clean code for that. So, can you tell what do you exactly mean by clean code? Like, because some people are really confused how to write code in an interview, actually.
Uh, I would suggest suppose you have a binary search question. Like for example, you have a binary search question. So you write your binary search implementation above your main code, breaking up your code so that it's readable. Not leaving proper. I use language C++, so indentation is not required over there. But I would suggest that making your like leaving lines after for loops, proper tab spaces. I think these are the things, small things, which make your code look better than what. If you don't use it, then you'll see the difference that this code is much more
Right,
readable. You're able to figure out how the function flows, how it goes on, how the command runs. I don't think it's that difficult. If you have a practice of solving questions on LeetCode, it will be very easy. Or LeetCode or any other platform, because yourself have to debug your code. So if you have that
right.
practice, you'll develop actually. Anyone can.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've seen like in lead code when I'm solving a question, I'll obviously use IJK as my variables. But in interview, I think the interviewers expect you to write the actual literal meaning of the like the variables. Like I ki jagah maybe write index, and like whatever that variable is doing, like you should understand as a person who does not know about the code. So I've seen a lot of times students are like, I solved the entire question, I solved both the questions, but still I did not get selected. So sometimes not writing a readable code can be a very big reason for like why you're getting rejected, I think, right?
I don't have that much interview experience because Amazon was one of the first company which shortlisted me after online test, and it was one of the. It is the only company I interviewed for because earlier they rejected me because of Cgpa off campus and all. So
Yeah.
after my Cgpa increased in online semesters, it was one of the first companies and I got selected. So I don't have that much experience, but I really think that they don't really care about your variables. They just want the question to run. It should be readable. See, I personally wrote IJK only there in my
Okay.
interview.
Yeah, I think interview, it really depends on the interviewers. Like different interviewers have different expectations, and they're looking for like different things. So it depends on the interviewer. Maybe like one interviewer does not pay that much attention to one thing, and the other interviewer does. So it depends on the interviewer. So who are watching this, may be on the safer side and use proper variable names, write comments and everything. Like in my interview, I remember I write the comments and variable names and everything. I was so scared about writing a clean code. So yeah, like it can vary depending on the interviewer.
I was
Right.
lucky enough they didn't point that out to me.
Yeah. So the next thing is, if you have to state out any three things that students should not do in an interview, can you tell me what those three things can be?
Definitely. Uh, this thing I also didn't know before I did that mistake in interview.
Hmm.
So what if you have a practice of solving questions in online platforms? You read the question, you start writing code. This is during the interview you have to explain your code to your to the interviewer.
Right.
Yeah, he should not be made feel like an audience that he's watching some online competition of students writing. So what I did, I told him, so can you give me 5 minutes? I wrote that code, and then he told me, yeah, you should explain as you write. So I think explaining your code while you write your code in the interview might help you connect with your interviewer. So suppose if you're stuck somewhere, he'll be more than willing to give you a hint or two. And
Definitely.
writing clean code, that is second thing. And if you're stuck, rather than wasting time on that question, ask for few hints. Ask him to give some tips. See,
Right.
if you're stuck on that question, it becomes really awkward for you as well as the interviewer to watch silently each other for like 10-15 minutes. So it's better you
Right.
ask some doubts if you're not able to understand that question. Keep interacting with him, make him feel connected like that.
Right. Definitely. Like if you will not talk to the interviewer, even the interviewer won't take the efforts to talk to you. You have to ask questions. You have to communicate. You have to keep talking something, even if he or she is not responding. Just keep talking. And yes, definitely, as you mentioned, that the interviewer helps you. Definitely, I think they are here to guide you, right? So even in my interview, he told me that like somewhere I was going wrong, but because I was doing proper communication, he helped me out. That here I'm going wrong. So then I corrected it. Definitely. Okay. So I think we talked about all the important things. Anything else that you would like to advise the students who are planning to give Amazon interview in the future?
Uh, I would tell students that not to take stress. First of all, don't worry. If you solve a lot of questions, interviews become really simple. If you practice, if you take a topic, study all the algorithms, practice a lot, it becomes really simple to ace the interview. If you don't, then you might
Right.
face little difficulties in the interview. And that's it, nothing else.
Right. Yeah. Also, it's not like if you fail in one interview, you should stop trying. As you mentioned, Aman, that you tried for
Yes,
Amazon
yes,
for the second
yes.
time.
No, no, it's not
Yes.
second time. It's my first time
Okay.
in Amazon. I got rejected in off-campus internships. On-campus internships, my CGPA was not up to mark, so then I was not
Yeah.
eligible for many companies.
Hmm.
A few companies in which I was eligible, I think they rejected me in first round only.
Yeah.
So
So take rejections as a positive point. It's not like
yes,
you
yes,
got
yes.
rejected once and then you stop trying. Like keep
No,
trying,
no, no.
and
Yeah,
something good is
definitely,
always waiting for you. Definitely.
definitely,
So
definitely.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Aman, for coming to Geeks for Geeks and sharing about your interview experience. So it was great interacting with you, and I hope it helps a lot of students who are planning to give Amazon interview in future. Thank you.